Your news for the state of Tennessee in about 10 minutes. Tennessee in 10 starts now.
I'm Marius Payton. Thanks so much for joining us for Tennessee in 10. We want to begin here in the mid-state, where a Nashville college medical student is finally back home after 4 terrifying days trapped in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. 27-year-old Eamon Chowdhury is a student at Meharry Medical College. She says she was finally able to get a flight back to the States Tuesday night. Over the weekend, we watched violence explode across parts of Mexico after troops killed cartel leader El Mencho. Flights were grounded for a period of time, leaving many American tourists with no way out. Eamon says she's grateful to finally be home safe.
I'm Patrick Ellis. Memphis Police's fugitive unit recovered more than 400 stolen IDs while executing a warrant for a man wanted for aggravated assault and vandalism. Officers arrested 46-year-old Terrence Beauregard at a home in Frazier. When officers arrived, found hundreds of driver's licenses and gift cards, a couple of debit cards, and over a dozen Social Security cards, cash, marijuana, prescription pills, ecstasy, methamphetamine, and fentanyl were also seized. Beauregard now faces 8 additional drug charges. MPD says he could face more as the investigation continues. He's currently being held on a $330,000 bond.
Hello from the WVLT Newsroom. I'm Will Puckett. An investigation is underway right now after officials with the Tennessee Department of Corrections say an inmate stabbed a corrections officer at the Morgan County Correctional Complex Tuesday. Officials say Dustin Padigo's death was caused by an inmate who stabbed him, and they're investigating it as a homicide. Now, this is the inmate they say stabbed the corrections officer. This is Reginald Steed. They say he stabbed Padigo late Tuesday night at the prison in Wartburg. Steed was taken to another facility while the prison in Wartburg remains on lockdown, and they say it could stay that way for a while. Steed is currently serving a 27-year sentence for multiple charges that include aggravated assault and attempted voluntary manslaughter. TDOC is leading the investigation, which remains in its early stages right now. Now, State Representative Ed Butler and State Senator Ken Yeager released a joint statement together saying, in part, quote, "This act of violence will be thoroughly investigated to ensure the individual responsible will be prosecuted."
Well, Tennessee no longer plans to enforce a law that would charge local officials with a felony for voting in favor of sanctuary cities. This bill was just passed last year. The state just settled with the ACLU, but it still has to be approved in court. Tennessee AG Jonathan Skermetti and District Attorney Glenn Funk admitted that the law was unconstitutional. They also said it violated legislative immunity. The ruling also dissolves a lawsuit filed on behalf of the 7 Metro Council members. They could have faced felony charges for voting in favor of policies that were intended to support immigrant communities.
Memphis was mentioned as one of the cities during President Donald Trump's State of the Union address on deploying federal agencies to those cities back in 2025. Of course, the Memphis Safe Task Force began operation back in late September. It has arrested more than 6,000 people, including more than 600 suspected known gang members. They've also said that they've taken more than 1,000 illegal guns off of the streets. Memphis Police Department shared data that shows crime trended down before the task force arrived 1 week ago. MPD Chief C.J. Davis asked if the president was right to send the task force in.
I don't know if we needed to call it a task force, and I don't know that we needed to have the president to say it, but I know the Memphis Police Department and our mayor has absolutely asked for federal resources.
We hit the streets and talked to some University of Memphis students who are not fond of the Memphis Safe Task Force being here.
Genuinely, no. I just see more people like complaining about traffic stops and tickets, and like, you know, the court was really packed. I see you still continue. Safer, I guess it's good. Not really. I really feel very much uncomfortable.
In a post, State Senator Brent Taylor says Memphis matters to President Trump, adding, quote, "Joint President Trump, Senator Blackburn, and me, we have a city to save," end quote.
Well, the Tennessee Valley Authority says they're working with police right now to investigate a threat against the Kingston fossil plant in Roane County. We're working to learn further details about what exactly has happened, but the Tennessee Valley Authority says they're cooperating with local authorities as they investigate a possible threat against this. They say their top priority is the safety of all employees at the site. We have reached out to the Roane County Sheriff's Office. When we learn more details from them, trust us to keep you updated.
We want to talk about that first alert weather, and as people woke up this morning, it was wet roads and patchy fog out there, Stefano.
And we still have a little rain to get through this morning, Marius, before we really tap into some nicer weather for the rest of today and then really going into this weekend. We're topping those temperatures off this weekend, 60s and even 70s on Saturday. A little cooler early next week, and then by Wednesday, Thursday of next week, we should kickstart another warm-up. The rain will linger out in East Tennessee through the remainder of this morning, but virtually everybody should be drying out by the time we hit our lunch hour today. Maybe just a couple of rain showers left over. The later we head through the day, the more clearing that we get. We'll have a nice clear sky tonight into our morning tomorrow, and then really kick in nice weather for the upcoming weekend. 60s Friday, sunshine returns. A little chilly Saturday morning, a lot of us 40s and 30s. Saturday afternoon, we're back in the 70s. A beautiful day under plenty of sun. More clouds will mix in Sunday. A touch cooler, but still very mild in the mid to upper 60s.
All right, Stefano, thank you. A lawmaker, a Nashville lawmaker that is calling for a federal investigation into Tennessee's Department of Children's Services. Representative Afton Bain wants the DOJ's Civil Rights Division to investigate, citing a 5-month-long federal investigation from 2024. Bain says there have been federal findings of noncompliance, disability-related segregation concerns, and poor placement practices. She's also calling on impacted families to sign a statewide petition and submit their testimonies. And Tennessee just joined a federal effort to find homes for children. It's called a Home for Every Child initiative. It will expand the number of licensed foster homes in Tennessee and help families so fewer children end up in foster care. The state plans to strengthen child welfare by focusing on prevention, stability, and long-term positive outcomes for children and their families.
Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen is asking questions about XAI and potential public health impacts across the Mid-South, including in DeSoto County, too. In a letter, he says the communities in South Memphis, Boxtown, Westwood, and surrounding areas have long borne the cumulative effects of significant industrial activity. He also says these neighborhoods deserve assurance that any new development prioritizes health, safety, and environmental stewardship, end quote. Cohen is also asking for XAI to provide permits for turbine use, emission data, and mitigation strategies, and a commitment to meet with communities about the data centers coming into the Mid-South.
Officials from CVS are responding to a new bill that could force more than 100 pharmacies across Tennessee to close. That bill was introduced just last month. Supporters of the bill say it's meant to increase competition and transparency in the drug industry. A few weeks ago, CVS pharmacists and store managers protested against the legislation at the state capitol. CVS says the bill is bad for Tennessee and fails to address drug costs. They also say it will only hurt access to the 1.5 million patients they serve. A spokesperson for the company says it would also put more than 2,000 Tennesseans out of a good-paying job.
Just years after celebrating their 50th anniversary as a company and just 40 years in the city of Knoxville, McKay's says they're closing their shop in West Knox, right on Bearden Hill. Now, officials have announced the store is set to close on May 3rd, and the property has already been sold. They didn't say why they're closing and why they decided to sell the Knoxville property, but they are taking time, they say, to evaluate their next steps. Starting today, they will no longer accept locations at their Knoxville location, but returns will still be accepted.
McKay's has a location here in Nashville, one in Chattanooga, and 2 others in North Carolina. So I'm sure it's good news for customers to know that some other locations will not close its doors. On its website, the Knoxville location has its last opening day listed. And Nextdoor released its list of friendliest cities and neighborhoods to live in across the U.S., and 20 Tennessee cities made the list. Here are the top 5 from that list. Christiana came in at number 1, followed by Memphis, College Grove, Kingsport, and Oakville. Nextdoor says the rankings were based on how people living in those communities interact with each other on their platform, from how they engage, support, and welcome each other.